Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kachi, a certified electrician who has ventured into farming. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you a story of one of the most tragic stories that we've had on this farm. This is one of the highest mortalities that we've ever had on this farm. So what inspired me to make this video is that some of the comments that we get in our comment section, some people get the impression that we do not face some challenging times on the farm with regards to high mortality. So this is a video where I get to tell you one of the highest mortalities that we have had on this particular farm. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. So here's the story of one of the biggest losses that we've had on this farm. So last year here in Zambia, we had a situation where we had a shortage of day-old chicks throughout the country. So it was hard to get day-old chicks onto the farm. So because of this shortage, it resulted in us ordering birds from a supplier which we do not usually get from. So we were having birds from this particular supplier for the very first time. And because it was the first time and we had heard a lot of stories about this particular supplier, stories to say this supplier has a high mortality rate, no, this supplier has a high cow rate. By cow rate, we mean the number of chicks which had leg problems and so on and so forth. So we had a lot of stories about this particular supplier, but we had no choice because that was the only supplier who had chicks available at that particular time. So we decided to go on and order birds from this particular supplier, and the birds came in within a month of ordering them from this particular supplier. There we were. We had 170 birds on the farm. So we placed these particular chicks around 10 hours. Here's the thing, we got everything. We did our preparation right. And because it was cold season, we had to put up curtains in the poultry house, and we had everything set out. By the time the birds were getting to the farm, everything was set. And it's worth mentioning that at this particular point in time, we were using charcoal brooding. So we had set up our brooder and everything was in place. So as soon as the chicks came in, the feed and water was ready, we placed our chicks. So after placing the chicks, an hour later, I came back into the chicken house to check how the birds were doing. When I came back into the chicken house, I found that one bird had died. And that was so unusual because we do not really have high mortality during the first few days on this particular farm. So it was a really surprising thing. So I picked that bird, removed it from the chicken house. And then from that particular time, I could come and check every about 2 hours or so. About 4 hours from placement, I came back into the chicken house and I found that at least 3 birds had leg problems. They could not move, the legs were paralyzed. At that particular point in time, I knew that we had a lot of problems with this particular batch. After the first day of the chicks being on the farm, we had lost 9 birds within the first 24 hours. And out of 170 chicks, that's a huge number. Some people go throughout the whole 6 weeks without having that high number of mortality. But unfortunately for us, with that particular batch, we had a mortality of about 9 within the first 24 hours. And this was so worrying. And when I saw this happen, I tried to start looking for solutions. I didn't know what was going on. But because of the preconceived perception about the supplier, I didn't think it was a management problem on our part. The only thing that came to mind was that, oh, this is what the people were talking about, to say this supplier has poor chick quality. So whatsoever was going wrong at that particular point in time, I was there thinking, no, it isn't our fault. We've done everything right. We've prepared right for these birds. Everything is in place and everything is going on to plan. After that 9, on the second day, we lost 3 birds again, bringing the total number of birds within the first 2 days to 12. We lost 12 chicks within the first 2 days of having the chicks on the farm. That was so worrying, with the fact that there was a shortage of chicks and the chicks were dying like that. And at that particular point in time, the cost of production had gone up. And so it was a worrying time for us on the farm. Again, in our mind, we're still thinking this has to be the supplier's fault. It isn't our fault. But not to be single-minded, we decided to do some research and to see what could cause so many deaths within a short period of time, especially when starting to rear chicks. And so what we did was we did our research, and I came across some information which made me believe that the fault may not be with the supplier after all. It may be because of us. So here's the mistake that I discovered that we had made. The brooder was too high for the number of chicks that we had. Coupled with the brooding with charcoal, the charcoal had a lot of carbon monoxide, and the carbon monoxide was trapped within the brooder. Plus, the ventilation in the chicken house was not so good because we had put up curtains in order to maintain the heat within the poultry. It was so cold after all. And after discovering those mistakes, I tried to correct them by lowering the brooder. That was done. We opened up, we created ventilation, and we balanced it. But at that particular point in time, the damage was already done. From that particular point in time up to about the 7th day, would pick up at least 1 dead chick on a daily basis. It got to a point where it became emotional, just knowing how much we had invested in the business and how the chicks were dying. It was so bad. And you are there now thinking, are we going to get our production cost out of this batch? It became frustrating. By the 8th day, we had our first day without having any mortality at all. From the 8th day until the 3rd week, we had maintained without having any mortalities at all. Now, here's the funny thing. You are there thinking, oh, we're done. We've solved this problem. The chicks are no longer dying. Boy, were we wrong. We were wrong. When we got into the 4th week, chickens started dying left, right, center, and forward and everywhere. Chicks were just dying. It became so bad that it felt bad recording the number of mortalities that we were picking up in a day. So we stopped counting the mortalities. We would just pick, go and bury, pick, go and bury. Luckily, these birds grew up in terms of uniformity. The uniformity was good. So the birds were growing up well, the size was good and all that. And so fast forward, it's market day. We started selling our chicks. So after selling our chicks, we discovered that we only sold about 95 chicks, and then we remained with 5 which we used for relish at the house. That is when we realized that we had lost 70 chicks out of 170. So the good part, the reason why we are sharing this video or this story with you, we know some people lose chicks and they might lose hope in the process. But one of the things that happened to us with that particular batch is that the market was so easy because of the shortage that was happening in the country at that particular time. So we were able to sell off all the birds within a short period of time, and we sold them for cash. And because they were sold for cash and within a short period of time, we were able to get back our production cost. We did not make any profit from this particular batch, but we were able to get back the production cost, which was a good thing. And the other good thing that happened to us in that particular case is that we were able to get a new batch despite of the shortages that were going on in that particular during that particular time. We were still able to get birds into the poultry quickly, and so that somehow consoled us in that particular point in time. We got back our production cost and we had a few, but it was a really trying moment. So here is our encouragement to farmers out there. Do not be single-minded when it comes to judging a supplier of birds. When you have a preconceived idea or a prejudice against the supplier, you will overlook your own weaknesses, like we did in that particular point in time. But from that particular loss, we've come back stronger. It has reinforced our belief to say management is really key when it comes to broiler farming. If you employ good management practices when raising your broilers, you will have a good return. So if you're new to the channel, once again, subscribe to the channel and follow us on Facebook. Like our Facebook page, it's Broiler Farm. Thank you for watching and have a good day.